presidential candidate John McCain during the 2008 campaign. He now heads up the American Action Forum, a conservative think tank in Washington. Okie doke. You support the GOP tax law. It is still very early days. But as I've laid out the windfall so far, it really seems to be benefiting shareholders more than workers. And we need to make it clear, shareholders aren't just wealthy people. They are retirees, they're 401ks. But it's workers, those are the forgotten Americans who can't seem to make ends meet.
Well, I think there are a couple of really important points that you've made. I mean, the first is it is important to recognize that the majority, the largest shareholders of corporate stock are retirement plans. And given the need for retirement savings in the United States, benefits there are well placed. I think the second is to think, what do you really learn about the effectiveness of the tax cut from share buybacks? And the answer, sadly, is nothing, because the issue is not where is that first investment made, it's where the final dollars are spent. So if we buy back the shares, the money doesn't go into a black hole, it goes to somebody, and they do something with it. And the important thing is that in the end, the incentives in the economy are such that those dollars will be invested in the United States in skills, technologies, equipment that raise the productivity of workers. Because the real issue here, and the ultimate way this law will be judged, is whether we will change what we saw in 2016, which was a year in which those households that worked full-time for the full year saw exactly zero increase in their real income. That has to change. The route to that changing is actually better productivity and the skills, technologies, and equipment that drive productivity. So, you know, it's month 5. It wouldn't have happened by now, but some of the things that you would think could happen by now have happened. There's big increases in confidence by business owners, both large CEOs and the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the small guys. There are big changes in their plans for capital spending. Morgan Stanley tracks this. The S&P 500 report was up 24%. So that's good news, right? People are confident, they're changing their plans. And last month, in the durable goods orders, we saw an enormous spike up in orders for capital goods. All of that is quite promising, but it's not definitive. It's the 5th month, and as the year goes on and as we move into next year, we'll see whether, in fact, we get what we really need, which is America's firms investing in the U.S., innovating in the U.S., and raising wages in the U.S.
Well, if they invest and innovate in the U.S., that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to raise wages. And after a conference at the Dallas Fed, Axios reports that executives at large U.S. companies say the days of getting a pay raise are over, and they also plan to reduce workforces. So if the plan is to increase productivity, that can lead to automation, not increasing worker pay. And I feel like that's what we heard here.
I read that article with interest. I think there are two different things going on in there. Number one, there's a clear long-term trend where high skills pay off. And what they're saying is, well, we're just not going to hand out pay raises. We're going to give it to those who have skills. That's been going on in the labor market for a long time. I think the second thing that's going on is everyone's saying, yeah, I'm not planning to raise my workers' wages. Well, no one plans to. Labor market conditions force you to. And as the labor market tightens, they're going to be forced to increase wages, and they will be able to do that successfully if their firms are more productive. If they're not productive, then they'll have to raise prices, they'll lose business. So what you see in the economy as a whole, regardless of the hopes and dreams of any businessman, is the conditions are such that productivity rises and wages along with it, and that's how the standard of living gets increased.
Okay, but then take me back to trickle-down economics, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. High skills are going to get paid more. What happens to that unskilled worker? Because it's that unskilled worker who cannot make ends meet. And when we saw the massive corporate tax cut, the argument was it's going to trickle down to the middle or even the bottom. But what that tax cut does, in essence, is get so many programs cut to those people at the bottom who need it. And we've yet to see companies say, I'm going to take this money to create training programs for people to improve their skills so I can then hire them. Isn't that the missing link here?
There could very well be a training program. That's a natural investment that firms can make. Setting up training programs, again, takes time. We're in month 5, and whether they choose to raise their productivity through that channel, raise their productivity by building a new factory, putting their workers in a state-of-the-art facility instead of an old one, hear plans about that, or whether it comes from simply, in some cases, automating. That has gone on in parts of the economy. It will continue to go on. And there the key will be, can we find effective ways to transition those workers to new sectors of the economy and give them the skills to compete. That's been a long-standing challenge in the U.S., whether it's the migration of textiles from the Northeast to the Southwest or in response to international trade pressures. It's not something that I think we have an outstanding record on, and it's a place where we need to focus and improve.
I would agree with you. Do you think it's getting the needed focus today?
I haven't seen a whole lot of attention paid to it. I hope it's one of the things that moves into the policy agenda in 2019. I don't think we're going to see a lot of legislation this year. But outside of Washington, in the think tank role that I occupy and in the research community, it's getting a lot of attention. It's not something that's literally brand new. In the 80s, you'll recall, when we saw the first wave of computers enter into the business world and all that information technology happened, we saw a big swath of middle management become essentially obsolete overnight. Looking at that experience and trying to learn from it, I think, will be the key.
Video killed the radio star. We got a whole lot of radio stars out there. We got to help them out. All right, Doug, thank you so much. Coming up,